Welcome to News Desk on SiliconANGLE TV for Wednesday, October 17th, 2012. I'm Kristen Folletti. LinkedIn gets a facelift. Facebook is giving a few brands a sneak peek at a new marketing tool, and theCUBE's Big Data Week is upon us. Joining us now with his breaking analysis is Wikibon analyst Jeff Kelly. Welcome, Jeff.
Hi, Kristen. Thanks for having me again.
Since January 2009, LinkedIn's members have grown from 32 million to over 175 million. We've talked previously on the program about LinkedIn's growth. What do you attribute to LinkedIn's success?
Well, certainly it's a highly useful service, really, for, among other things, networking with colleagues, but also it's used heavily for networking in terms of finding a new job. So, we all know in this day and age, a lot of jobs you get because of people connections you might have, people you've worked with in the past, that kind of thing. And LinkedIn is the go-to destination to maintain relationships with all those people. Prior to LinkedIn, it was kind of difficult to continue keeping in touch with colleagues. LinkedIn has kind of solved that problem, at least to the extent that you can, be connected to them. You may not, converse with them often or even chat often, but nevertheless, you can maintain that kind of loose connection and call upon one another, when you're in that job-seeking mode.
Aaron Bronson, LinkedIn's product manager, has announced an overhaul of LinkedIn's profiles. What can you tell us about the changes we can expect on this core feature?
Right. So there appears to be, some changes around the visualizations, just how the profile is going to look. Makes it, I've heard it described as a little bit more Facebook-like. So maybe just a little bit more user-friendly. What intrigued me among the updates, however, was more of this idea that you're now going to be able to kind of overlay or cross-reference some of your data with those of the colleagues or connections in your network. So, for instance, you could identify which colleagues or which people in your network worked for a certain company at a certain time, may have worked together, may have worked on similar projects, depending on what they've included in their LinkedIn profile. So it just helps you kind of get a better view of the relationships among your connections. And again, when it comes to finding either employment opportunities or simply just kind of making new connections for other types of business opportunities, all that kind of data really can really be helpful.
What's the motivation behind the remodel? Who's LinkedIn attempting to compete with? I heard you mention Facebook. Are they attempting to directly compete with them?
I don't think it's directly competing with them. I think what LinkedIn is kind of Facebook for the enterprise. I think is what they're trying to be. I think or Facebook for grown-ups, if you will. And I say that sort of tongue in cheek, but a little bit higher level kind of conversations you'll see on Facebook. Not quite as much of the cheeky content that you might get on Facebook. But who are they trying to attract? I mean, they want to attract anyone and everyone who's in business and industry in across the world, really, in the U.S. and elsewhere. So I think the other thing they're trying to do here, specifically around the being able to kind of cross-reference your experience data, your projects you've worked on, things like that I mentioned a moment ago. LinkedIn at its heart is a big data company. They've got lots of data assets, and they're continually trying to find new ways to make use of that data to make their service more useful to their users, which ultimately makes it a more attractive destination for advertisers and other clients of LinkedIn.
How do you think users are going to react to the new face of LinkedIn?
I think users, for the most part, are going to react favorably. I think, all of us most of us are on Facebook, so I think when you see some of these new type of visualizations and the look and feel to kind of mirror that Facebook experience, I think most people will be comfortable with that. And I really think people are going to find again, the cross-referencing of the data very helpful. Again, you can think of perhaps you might be looking for a job. Maybe you've got an interview with someone you don't know at a new company. If you can do a search and kind of understand who in your network maybe worked with that person before, or maybe worked at that company around the same time that the person you're interviewing with may have worked there. You could essentially create connections, get some interactions going that way, just to improve your chances. So I think people are going to really enjoy that type of capability now built into LinkedIn.
Let's move to Facebook and this new marketing tool they're keeping under wraps. As it stands right now, what kind of information can brands access about Facebook users who like them?
Well, that's a good question. So, right now, advertisers and clients of Facebook can understand who likes them, of course, and they can understand how that's trending over time, um, either increasing or dropping. They can understand who's talking about them. They can do potentially on their own if they want to do some kind of sentiment analysis about what's being said about them in Facebook profiles and things like that. So, what's new here is that now Facebook is reportedly allowing a select group of their clients access to not just, hey, here's the people on Facebook that like you, but here's the other things that those people also like. The idea being that these clients can use that information to their advantage in terms of advertising and reaching more potential customers.
Facebook has been internally allowing a select number of marketers to see their fans' other interests, like their favorite bands or TV shows. So how could this brand affinity tool help marketers?
Well, let's just take a simple example, and I'm not privy to which of the advertisers Facebook is making this data available to, but just for the sake of argument, let's say it's Macy's might be one of let's just say hypothetically, if Macy's knows that we've got such and such million people that like us, and we know that a good proportion of those people also like pick your favorite television show. Okay, well, there's an opportunity we should use to potentially advertise on that show, maybe do some kind of cross promotion with that show to extend our reach to other people who watch that show who potentially would probably be interested in Macy's services and products. So it's that ability to really understand what people that like your company also are interested in, and trying to reach like-minded people to essentially increase your customer base.
Why haven't marketers been able to access this type of data in the past?
Well, I mean, there are issues around privacy, and there are issues. I mean, certainly Facebook has got a lot on their plate. They're growing. I think they just hit over 1 billion members. So there's a lot going on in terms of just supporting that many users in terms of keeping their infrastructure up and running. This is, I think, a reaction, well, not a reaction, but a part of the story around Facebook finding new ways to monetize all that data they collect. With the IPO failing miserably, and a lot of bad press around Wall Street analysts saying we're not sure how they're going to monetize this data. Well, here's an example of how Facebook thinks they can do that. I think this is a good way to go in the sense that this is certainly information that marketers and advertisers would love to have. And ultimately, I'm bullish in the long term on Facebook being able to monetize this data because they have more data probably than anyone other than maybe Google. And we've learned in this big data era that it's not necessarily the smarter the algorithms that wins. It's the amount of data. The more data you have, you can even have less sophisticated algorithms to do some really interesting types of analytics that can drive advertising, marketing, among other use cases.
This seems like an obvious choice and a very valuable tool for marketers. So why is Facebook holding back on releasing such a money-making feature?
Well, I mean, anytime you release a new feature, there's the potential for hiccups. There's potential for a backlash from users not wanting their data to be used this way. So I think it's wise to roll it out slowly. And also, you don't want to. I'm sure there's really smart people inside of Facebook who have lots of ideas of different ways they can use this data to monetize this data. And you don't want to roll them all out at once. You want to kind of do it in stages, as it allows you really to focus on the ones specific initiatives one at a time, give it the attention they're due, and then kind of keeping your clients wanting more and being able to deliver. So I would expect to continue to see updates like this over time, but I wouldn't expect them to all roll out in one kind of giant tidal wave.
Big Data Week is coming up with Strata Conference and Hadoop World kicking off in NYC October 23rd through the 25th. What are you anticipating for next week?
Well, it's going to be a very exciting week next week. We here at Wikibon and SiliconANGLE are going to be bringing theCUBE to 2 events next week, as a matter of fact. IBM's Information on Demand event, where they're going to focus heavily on big data, both kind of the analytics side and the infrastructure side, as it relates to IBM customers. And then later in the week, Wednesday and Thursday next week, we'll be at the Strata conference plus Hadoop World. There are 2 conferences in one now. And so that's in New York City at the end of the week, towards the end of the week. That's going to be really interesting because there's just, the entire big data ecosystem really is going to be represented there. Lots of different vendors, from startups, like companies like Platfora, to larger vendors. SAP is going to have a heavy presence. So it's really going to be an interesting mix of customers. It's a really good opportunity to understand what are some of the really cutting edge trends happening in big data. Also to talk to some big data practitioners. So between the two events, we're going to really, it's going to be a big week, no pun intended, around big data here. So yeah, definitely tune in. We're going to have live coverage Monday, Tuesday at IBM Information on Demand from Las Vegas, and then Wednesday, Thursday live from New York City at the Strata Hadoop World Conference.
Well, Jeff, thanks so much for your time. Great talking with you as always.
Likewise, thanks for having me on.
For information on news of the day and the latest breaking analysis, stay tuned to News Desk right here on SiliconANGLE TV.